All right, everyone, welcome to the very first Kargo Community Meeting, this kind of user group type of meeting here. We're going to have this regularly on the calendar, so I'm going to drop the this Google document that I'm sharing right now on my screen. This Google Doc is going to be a running document for these meetings, right? Very akin to any community meeting here. So first and foremost, remember to follow the code of conduct here. The Cargo project code of conduct can be found on this document following this link here. So if you're unfamiliar with it, go ahead and click on it to give that a read here. The We'll be having this once a month to start, right? The last Wednesday of each month at this time. We try to pick a time that is that most people can attend. So sorry for anyone like me on the West Coast. It's a little early, but if you are, I appreciate you being here. We all appreciate you being here. We're Today we have all hosts joining today. So just really quick. We're not going to make a round of introductions, so I'm just going to do a very quick introduction of all of us here. So my name is Christian Hernandez. I am the head of community over at Akuity. We have Angelica, who is a technical evangelist. We got a Natish, who is a software engineer here at Akuity, and Fika, who is a cargo project maintainer here. So today it's gonna just kind of be all of us hanging out here. But in future, it's gonna rotate between us here. Of who's actually leading the meeting. So, but we figured since this is the first one, we're gonna have it all have all of us on. So before we get to the agenda, just kind of first and foremost, if you're attending this meeting, please add your name to the attendees list here. We love to see wherever it was from, where they're coming from, all of that. So if you could just add your who's your name under the attendees list, that'd be appreciated. We got a guest on today. So today we have Engin from Pulumi, who's been doing a lot of cargo talks. If you haven't been following on social media, Engin has been doing a ton of talks around cargo, and I figured he should just jump on and do one of his many demos that he's been working on. He's been working on a lot on working cargo with Pulumi, which is great, which is awesome. We'd love to see. And then I'm gonna go over kind of like I have a usually have conversations with people asking about, hey, how how do I set up my GitOps repo for cargo? And so to basically GitOps cargo, we have some of that in the documentation. So if you haven't seen that in the doc quite yet, feel free to go ahead and kind of just look at those. But I actually have kind of like a sample repo that I kind of want to go over to get people started, right? This isn't a repo. I'll explain more later that I would actually try to tell anyone to put in production, but it's a good starting point. So, and as far as topics go, if you have a topic in mind you want to discuss, or either something you want to discuss, or like you have an issue or anything like that, please put it in the next topics section. If we have time today, we'll get to it. Since this is since we already have kind of an agenda, we'll either have to time box it or move it on to the next meeting. And so yeah, so that's kind of like the long and short of it here is, if you have a question or anything, or you want to ask anyone or discuss anything, feel free to raise your hand, right? We'll just kind of use that hand raising functionality of Zoom, so that way we're not stepping over each other. And so I guess with that, Edgin, I'll pass it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing here. So that way you can just quickly go over your demo and, kind of the stuff that you've been doing with Cargo. So I'll let you kind of take it away from here.
Perfect. Fine. So yeah, hey, welcome everyone. Let me quickly set up the scene for everything. So I will do a slightly quick slides to jump over this. So let me share my screen here now. So screens, and I'm going to share my full desktop. Okay, so the slideshow from current slide. Okay, so where everything started, I'm working at Pulumi, so that's infrastructure as code, and of course our customers have adapted also some GitOps practices, and now they want to combine infrastructure delivery with GitOps. And this is here the classical pain chart. My daughter get asked at the doctor, like, "Hey, please describe your pain." And when we ask the people, like, "Hey, please describe your pain when working with GitOps," they always like, "That's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially if you want to deliver infrastructure stuff." So number 10 here is where all our GitOps stuff lies in. So shortly to myself, yeah, Engin Diri, I'm working at Pulumi as a customer experience architect. And if you want to talk with me, I'm probably on all socials currently. So feel free to reach out to me. Quickly, because this is very important for the background, why I want to use Kargo of delivering infrastructure. So me at Pulumi, we are infrastructure as code. So these are the three pillars. I also go very quick over this. On the left side, we have here the ways to define your infrastructure in code, in TypeScript, and so on. In the middle part, we have all the providers to provision the infrastructure. On the right side, we have the integration. And here comes the point. We are now able also to use, for example, Kargo to deliver everything. But what is needed to deliver our infrastructure? Yes, of course, GitOps is very important. So quickly on our GitOps principles, if you don't know them, there are some principles defined by the GitOps working group many, many years. There's also a page for this. So first of all, it has to be declarative, versioned and immutable, pulled automatically, and then also continuous reconciled. So that's the way we define here the GitOps part. And for GitOps, coming closer to the point, with GitOps, of course, we need also operators to deploy our infrastructure. Operators, again, very short. It's a piece of software you install in your Kubernetes cluster. It's going to watch on a specific custom resource where a user can define this, and then it executes some action and delivers everything on the Kubernetes cluster or whatever it does on the cloud and so on. So depending on the operator style. And now we come to the point. If we want to deliver or deploy infrastructure with GitOps, we also need here specific providers. So two of the ones you're probably familiar as Crossplane, and Pulumi has also a Kubernetes operator. And with this point, it's obviously that we're going to deliver some Kubernetes manifests also. Okay, with this said, what people are normally is doing then also with our customers, create a repository and then set up some structure and then deploy the structure using Argo CD, and then yeah, you get your fancy guestbook application. So that's fine. So now we could say, wow, cool, everything is done. But, and here comes the big but. So this is the end scene. But here comes the big thing, like, hey, we are not thinking only a dev environment. We have much more environments we want to deliver. So because there are many, many staging environments, pre-production, and so depending on the culture, on the company, you have a lot in between production and your dev environment. I worked for a German company before, which was labeled as infrastructure relevant for the government, for the state of Germany, because it delivers food to the inhabitants of Germany, to the citizens of Germany. So from this perspective, they had some very, very strong restrictions and take care that there are no unnecessary downtimes or situations where possibly no lorries can go out to the factories, to the different stores and bring food to the people. So now becomes the big question, how are we going to promote this beyond dev? And here comes the thing. I worked in the former place because we had Azure DevOps and Jenkins and so on. So wherever you go, people come up with some very creative way to define how artifacts are going to be promoted from one stage to another. There's really, really much place for creativity, and it's not wrong, it's not right. There's not something to say, hey, this is a legacy. It's just the way it has to be, depending on the capabilities and the maturity of the team and the needs. The solutions can be quite nice and necessary, and you come up with some interesting ways. But they are mostly not very GitOps friendly on the way you created the stuff. So there are still many external systems involved in this who do some actions and then do some pushing and so on. So this is maybe a way you don't like. You could still work around this, but again, we don't want this. We would like to separate a CI and CD and say CI should be really for creating the artifacts, testing the stuff, and CD should take care of everything. We don't need this kind of hybrid state. So is there a better way for infrastructure delivery? And here we come now to the point, thinking about this and cargo. That's the thing. And you are now in a Kargo community meeting, so probably know all of the benefits of Kargo. So I will just really, really quickly jump over this. We have multi-stage promotion. It's GitOps-native. We can create flexible promotion pipelines for artifacts. And here comes the point you will see in my demonstration also. Artifacts are defined here as container image, Kubernetes manifest, or Helm charts. I'm going to use Helm charts because I'm not using Kargo for application delivery. I'm using it for infrastructure delivery. So there are probably different endpoints to define if the infrastructure is healthy or not, and not maybe an endpoint and so on. So from this perspective, there are some derivations of the way Kargo is intended for application delivery. And then you have manual automatic promotion of artifacts. This is something enterprises really love, especially in Germany, for example. There are still some people who need to give their go to deploy the stuff. And with Kargo, we still have the possibility. We're not losing everything. It's not this magical pull request to just do everything. We can still have a point where to say, hey, go here, click on this, and then it gets delivered. So also very, very cool. And it's open source and has some native integration with Helm customize, Argo CD. Maybe in the future there will be also a Flux integration. So from this perspective, that's the setup. And now we head to the demonstration. So screen is still shared here. So this is my repository called Kargo test. So what I created here, again, I'm using customize. So I have here my infrastructure chart just as a representation. Inside the infrastructure Helm chart, I just define a Crossplane resource, very, very simple. I define here a Pulumi resources for our for the Pulumi operator. Same thing, it's a DigitalOcean application which gets deployed. And then you have also a basic trigger to say, okay, are we using Pulumi? Are we using Crossplane? This should emulate a little bit that in larger enterprises, you don't really have one way. You have maybe multiple ways of delivering infrastructure depending on the teams and so on. And so everything is possible here. So they can live in harmony. And the idea is here to just deploy a Golang application as a default. So that's the setup of my Helm chart. There's also a GitHub action which creates this and deploys it to a classical HTTPS repository. It could also be an OCI, but here in this example, I just created the HTTP repository. And then we have also the different stages. So I created here a development stage, an acceptance test stage, a test stage, production stages, and so on and so on. So everything neatly created here. And as you can see in the stage on the values YAML, I can overwrite here the application I would like to deliver. So this should also simulate, okay, people doing something, there are some work maybe on the development infrastructure can change, and then you slowly roll out the changes through the different stages. So how does it look like when we deploy everything in vanilla? So this is now Kargo. Hope everybody can see this very well. So created here really a basic promotion pipeline. You can do much more fancier stuff with Kargo. If you go on the Kargo page, you see also some patterns for different actions you would like to do. So depending on the idea, you can use Kargo for a lot of things. Here, I created a subscription, which is pointing to my Git repository, as I mentioned before, to my GitHub pages where the repository is hosted for the Helm chart, or at least the index YAML. And then I point here my warehouse, which listens to this. And then you can see all the versions available. So I just, before I did the demo here, I just created the version 0.2.0. And then we can also see here where all the versions are living on which systems. So let me as you can see in New York, everything is rolled out with version 0.2.0. That works very well. And here also in Argo CD, it's also everything synced. What I did is I went really the pure GitOps way, so there is no direct connection to Argo and just update the Argo application here. I really wanted to have everything vanilla as possible to GitOps, but again, you could say, hey, for the dev environment, for example, I don't need to make a pull request. I just update the application here in Argo CD. Again, depends on how you would like to work. And if we look here on DigitalOcean, everything is deployed. And when we have a look into our UAT instance here in Frankfurt, we should see, yeah, the Go application is up and running. And let's have a look also in New York. Did I rewrite something? No, New York should also have the Go application ready to go. That's a nice pun. So where is New York? New York is here. And hopefully, yes, also a Go application. Okay, so far so good. Let's do a little change here. So let's say, okay, we want to try out a new application. So for example, we find out that we want to deploy now a Vue. I just want to simulate a change. So in this case, I use the demo application of DigitalOcean and say, okay, instead of the Go application, deploy the Vue application. So what I can do, of course, I can overwrite the values file and it gets also deployed. So from this perspective, there's also no changes on this of the way we overwrite stuff. But let's do the way of really saying, okay, we find out that the Vue application, let me do this not here because then I have to click on 1,000 things. So let me open here in the IDE. So that makes life easier. So let me also change here. So let's change here the default to the Vue application. And then also go here and say, okay, now we created here the next version and say feature updates to Vue applications and commit. Things you should not do in a productive environment, just a push to so let me quickly rebase and then push here. Okay, so now we should have a change here for the Helm chart. So where are you? Hey. Hey, well, now that's okay, let's do. Okay, so let's create quickly a pull request. So what changes do we have? Yes, that's fine. That's completely fine. So here the change. Okay. And let me quickly merge this pull request. Okay, so now I can create here my new Helm chart. Chart publish. So this should create now version 0 to 0.2.1. Hopefully, yeah, so it's creating this one. And yeah, now it's done. So let's head back to Kargo. So now we can wait for the refresh or just trigger here the refresh. And we should be able now to see a newer version of our. Let's head over. Where are you? Why is he not? Why did he not detect the latest version? That's uncool. Chart published. Chart YAML 2.01. Okay, here is it. Whew. For a second there, I was like, oh, the demo
Yeah.
got strike again.
It's a
So,
well, it's always we released 1.3 yesterday, so I was like, oh, is it a 1.3 change? But looks like you got it.
and, yeah, that's something. You know, when you do this, preparing whatever time doesn't matter, but when you do a presentation, you have 1 second becomes like 2 years, and you're like, oh my
Yes,
God, why? Like
exactly.
it's like Interstellar on the Miller planet or something like this. Okay, so now we see there is now a new version available. So what I can do again, and this is something I really like because this is what people see and appreciate much is here also the way not only automatically doing this using the manifests and the Kubernetes resource, but here also again having the way to promote it by hand. So here again, I can now push it out and we see the promotion steps going through. That's completely fine. If we have a quick look into the promotion steps, where are they? They are here. We can see what we are going to do. I created here a promotion task. So all my stages reference here to the promotion task. This is something very new. I think it come in with version 1.1 or something like this, or 1.2. So now I can really take out the task of every stage and then just reference to the promotion task by name. And as we can see here, it's going to get it's clone the repository, it's update the Helm subchart, because as I mentioned before, what I did is every stage is a Helm chart and includes the infra chart as a subchart into it. So that's a little tweak here. And what I do then in Kargo is I just update here the Helm chart. So if we again git fetch git rebase main, we should hopefully see something is wrong here in my system. We should normally we should see that the version is now updated, but okay. I think I have a trouble in my repository, but here we should see this when we go into the stage here. Yeah, we see, where is it? He updated the version 2.0. It should update. I'm a bit confused why it didn't update it 1 minute ago. So updated the chart dependencies to 2.0. In test. Yeah, test. Okay, I'm stupid. So sorry. I'm looking into the wrong stage. I should look into test. So we see here, updated the Helm dependency, the infrastructure chart, which is included into this Helm chart. It gets automatically updated and it should now deploy the new application. So when we go here into our test, just make sure that everything is deployed as expected. Yeah, that should be fine. So let's have a look into our app platform. And if everything worked fine, where are we? We are here. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. Come on. Hey, you should roll out this. I'm over. I'm so stupid. So let me promote this further down the road. So let me see. We have the UAT environment is not overwriting this stuff. So let me quickly promote this to the next stage and say, hey, please take this one. So first we do our tests, but because I'm overwriting the Golang in the test environment, it's not going to roll out the new stuff. But here in this case, I'm using now UAT now. So we should see now in the, yeah.
This is why we have pipelines, though, right? Like you caught this
Yeah,
in test. That's a real world scenario, right? You caught this in test, so that way that's what pipelines are for.
Yeah, absolutely. I had my own security thing, but we see again it's updated now also in the UAT environment. It's now the latest version. We saw before it was not. It was still an old version. So that's fine. UAT is rolled out. We should see also in Argo CD, because there's a change now in the Git repository. You see out of sync. It reconciled everything. It's because this one is delivered via Crossplane, so the UAT environment. And we should see now here in the app platform, in the UAT environment here, we should see a new build going on. Yeah, there is a new build going on. If we go to the build logs, we should see also now, yeah, I can see node going on. That's fine. That's a good indication that he detected the Vue application. And in a couple of seconds, we should now see that the Vue application is deployed. So important steps, how I created, how I used Cargo here, having an infrastructure chart, defining my infrastructure, everything in Kubernetes using Crossplane and Pulumi in this case, having then created here the folder environments by folder. I know there's a different, there's also an approach to say, let's go environments by branches and then commit the whole structure there. The whole manifest like Helm template hydrated into this branch and point to this. It depends again what you want to use. I have very good experiences here in my approach using different Helm charts, but you could also go this way and say, hey, I want to use branches. I state here everything in main, and I take care because of my Helm chart structure that changes in the so-called base is not propagated accidentally through all the stages, because you have to update the infra chart version in the specific environments. So, and we see, yep, it's up and running, and hopefully now UAT should have, let me see, because probably it's, yeah, the requested path is not available, something. But we see there was a change, so maybe it's because of the Go application there. But before we saw it was a Go application up and running, and now it's another application running. In this case, it's not successful, the application. But it's not the important part, because we want to deliver the infrastructure here. In this case, we delivered now the application runtime on how to say this, on DigitalOcean. And yeah, that's it. So everything is propagated using Helm chart. Cargo is also displaying here now in which stage is which version. The only thing which is now missing, and I would like to continue working on this, is to have also this cluster verifications, or the verifications to say, okay, how can I detect now that the infrastructure I deployed is working fine? It could be in this case, yeah, it's an application why you're not using the endpoint. That could be, it's a simple way in this. But with more sophisticated infrastructure like Kubernetes clusters or databases, it's maybe a little bit more difficult to understand when the infrastructure is healthy. Maybe we have also some kind of database if we deploy a new database or so, backupping and so on. So it's maybe not that easy. That's the reason it's doesn't consider now here this approach, but it gives you an idea that you can use Cargo not only for application, but also for infrastructure deployment. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I always love seeing that how these two worlds come together, infrastructure as code and GitOps, and like using like Cargo to orchestrate that. That's always it's always fantastic to see. So anyone have any questions for Engin? Any comments? Anything like that?
I put the chart, the repository with the examples I put here. If you want to play around, feel free, or just use it as inspiration. There's also many example repositories from the people of Akuity, where you can also see different approaches from Helm charts to Kubernetes manifest and so on. So you can pick the way which fits you. In this example, everything is done via Helm and using push to main with the Cargo user. Okay, then thanks for having me,
Awesome.
and I'm curious
Yeah, no,
of your demo, Christian.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I put the repo in the doc, right? So for those who want to take a look at it later, can take a look at that. So now I'm going to share my screen. This should be I put the let me move some of this stuff out of my way. So I always get questions about GitOpsing cargo, right? And so we've actually bulked up our documentation. So if you haven't seen our documentation lately, um, come and take a look. There's reference documents, how-to guides, like Argo CD integration, how to advanced installation with Argo CD, right? So this is a way to get ops your cargo installation. So, but the question that I get asked a lot about like getting started in terms of like Git repos and stuff like that. I always get started, and I put this in the doc. I have this repo here. Um, I always get started with a mono repo. What's really, really funny is that I'm not actually a big fan of mono repos. So it's ironic that my first example is a mono repo, but I think it's a good way to get started, right? So I always say the best way to get started is to put up a bad example. So you always start at a bad example because then you'll go through all the cuts and bruises of it first, so that way you refine it as you go along. So this is kind of where I started. I already don't really like it once I started working with it, but I do believe it's a good start. So here I am I don't think here I did the repository layout here in the Git repo, but um I think I'll just do it here as well. So again, this is a mono repo. So again, I made this uh, easily to digest in a single repo because the way I would really do it is probably I would split out things. But I have this level here is the application layer, right? So kind of like standard customized um, directory layout. So this is kind of what Cargo is going to update, right? It's gonna, this is where the changes are gonna come and go through this top level here. So you see stages. Um, Bootstrap directory, that directory is exactly what it is. It's the point of entry into into this Git repo, meaning that to deploy directly from this directory, it deploys everything. Um, then I'm gonna skip over this because it's actually easier if I talk about this here. If I have uh here, I already actually see an issue, but that's fine. I have a system directory. So system basically means all the things that are going to be installed on the cluster, right? So I have a bare Kubernetes cluster. So if I do a kubectl get pods, it shows that this is just really, really bare bones Kubernetes cluster, really nothing on it. It's just freshly installed. So this system here, directory, Argo is going to install itself, Argo CD. It's going to install Argo rollouts, cert manager, external secrets, because I want to keep this as close as to production system as possible. Obviously, Cargo itself and Nginx. So under Argo CD and under Cargo, it's oh, I actually know what that directory is. Anyways, under Argo CD and under Cargo is under the system directory is nothing but the installation artifact. So if I just do system, Argo CD, it's just the customization, the namespace, right? The external secret, the values file, right? Just things to install. And same with Cargo, right? So keep that like separated out. So under configs are things that are used to set up the things in system, right? So for example, I install Argo CD out of this directory, but I have its configurations like application projects, application sets, all of that, config maps into the config directory. Um, and same with Cargo. So the Kira with Cargo, I have like all the pipeline tasks, all the stages, warehouses, things like that are under this config directory. This is a single tenant installation. you could theoretically add maybe one or two more tenants, right? What I would do then at that point under configs and cargo, I would add maybe another subdirectory of the actual tenant, right? Like, so if you have like, it'd be like configs cargo foo, and then there it'll have its pipeline stuff, and configs cargo bar for the other tenant, and then same for app, right? I would add like another layer here. It'll be like app foo, and then base stages, things like that. But so not to overcomplicate things, it's just like a single tenant. I put the example in the doc, but just to kind of quickly follow along here, I'm going to use customize, and I'm just kind of loop through and install these things here. I see that Blake's on this call, so I have kind of briefly talked about. You probably wouldn't do this with customize, and you probably do this with Terraform or Pulumi. Sorry, again, or Pulumi. You would do this part, like this bootstrapping part, with an actual infrastructure as code tool. But this will install everything again. I did it through the entry and through the bootstrap directory right here. I just basically did a customized build and then pipe it to kubectl apply. But again, this part, you should probably just do it with an infrastructure as code tool. This is the external secrets, right? Just kind of keep it. I'm using the fake driver or whatever it's called. The fake driver external secret, right? Obviously, this would be like in AWS, or it'll be like in Vault, or it'll be just whatever, right? Whatever external secret that you're using. I'm just kind of using the fake for the demo, but same idea, right? Like you can swap this with whatever you're using, and it should just work. So here, when I did this, when I usually do this, it takes about 3 minutes. If I go to another directory, I can see that Argo is installed. Looks like internal secrets is also installed, but it's going to take a while because get apps. Yeah, the bootstrap is still taking its time to run its thing, right? So the stateful set should be rolled out, which it is, but this step here basically waits for the bootstrap app to have a status of synced, right? And this could take anywhere 3 to 5 minutes. Little fun trick I learned. So I'll show you why I had to do this trick. So like if you do kubectl get ingress, right? It'll show you the Argo ingress. But it's not up, right? And the reason it's not up is because Argo hasn't installed Nginx yet. So you have the chicken egg problem here, but so you can't really do like an Argo CD, sync app, whatever, like the I think it's app sync, but whatever it is, to Argo, because Argo's not there. You can like do a port forward or whatever. But since I have access to kubectl, little unknown thing is you can actually annotate the application and to do a hard refresh. And I do this a few times. Actually, I'll put this in the chat here just so people have that. So this is the equivalent to doing a hard refresh on the UI, or doing a hard refresh on the Argo CD CLI. This is the kubectl way of doing it. Just for posterity. And then okay, we see get apps. Yeah, okay, so that's actually better. We're moving. And I actually have to do this a few times for the controller to kick over. Like Edgin said, a second could seem like a year, or like this is 3 to 5 minute process. This is actually another reason to probably use an infrastructure as code tool. This problem won't really exist if you're using like an infrastructure as code tool, because you could just like order things, have like an order and operation of things, or you can script it. But like if you really want to do something like in production, you probably want to use the tools that are we can actually do a port forward. Let's just not power off. Yeah, so let's go. Where's my advance? Accept risk. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, of course, the cargo demo. Oh, this will probably always be degraded. Like everything is syncing except cargo. Come on. Could probably just terminate it and like have it go again. Again, I'm only doing this because of the demo here. And this is probably I probably messed up here because it's application set. I wonder why this is degraded. Oh, okay. Yeah, sync waves, yeah. I should probably, that's another thing. I should probably just use sync waves here. There it goes. All right. Oops. Let's sync again. There we go. Finally. All right. Now we're getting everything. This was due to me not having enough patience, is what it is. Again. But sync waves will probably be, it's probably the answer. Travis, you're probably right. Cool. So then I can probably exit out of this and I can say, yeah, so we got the system's up and running. So the ingress should be up, which it is. Come on. There it goes. Advance. Same thing except no port forwarding. And then I have things set up in individual projects, right? So I have the default um, really the best practice, and actually, if you're attending my webinar, I'll mention that yeah, next. I'll mention this as well. Best practice is actually don't use the default project, right? Create your individual projects. I just didn't for this demo purposes. I just put the Bootstrap app in the default project because really no one should have access to it. But the system project has all the things that are for the system, to run. Argo CD, installation, cert manager, Nginx, external secrets, cargo itself, which looks like it's progressing. I'm not as brave as Engin. I'm installing 1.2.2. So I have that in that project. So again, even though it's a mono repo and I don't like mono repos, I try to make this as close to production as possible. I have the configurations all here. If you're running a multi-tenant system, you're going to have a lot of configurations. You're going to have like a cargo config dash foo, cargo config dash bar, right? And this is where all the all like the stages, the promotion tasks, things like that for that specific tenant will go to. But since it's a single tenant, you just see one. And then the actual tenants themselves, I have. Let me clear the config. Is for like the demo prod test and UAT. So cargo should be up, which it is. All right, cool. And then we should probably be able to promote now. Let's promote this guy. Here I have my pipeline running. Cool, that is successful. And then you can and then just like the rest of this here, this synced this guy here, and from here on out you can this is standard cargo pipeline, right? And I can keep going down that line. So I have that repo. Again, I always say I already don't like it, but it's a good start. I have and so then if you would ask me what would I do different, is I would basically, one, I would remove the app from this repo, right? I will have a control plane or a system repo, and then I'll have the tenants in their own repo because each tenant will have their own life cycle. So I'll have these manifests. Yeah, and these app manifests are just like customized Kubernetes manifests, right? So I can say, the production is using this customization that reads from the base, right? It's not cargo specific. So I would take this here, I'll separate that into its own repo, into its own repos. In the config directories, I will add another layer. Like I said before, under cargo, I would have each individual specific configuration for each um, pipeline tasks and warehouses, all of that in another subdirectory there. And I would even go as far as I haven't played. That's how probably my next step would be. And then after that, what I would play around with is having Cargo's pipeline actually live with the tenant, and then separate things out that make sense to for administrators to have, right? Like RBAC and things like that would probably still live in this repo, but things like stages and like promotion tasks, things like that will probably be closer to, and that would probably be my third step to test that out. So um, that's my frame of thinking. I always, anytime I start with something new with GitOps, I always start with a mono repo, and I always actually start with this basic structure. So like if you looked at my Git repo and all my GitOps repos for the past 2-ish years, I always have this similar setup, whether I'm doing a mono repo or whether I'm doing many repos there as well. So that's where I would start. I figured I'd share that in this call. I get this question a lot, and so we are nearing the end of the top of the hour. I think Angelica had to drop. I too have to drop in a little bit. But Nitish said he can stick around if there's like any questions or anything like that. Before I drop off, Max, you put in kcl.lang. We probably won't have time to get through all of this, but can you give us like a quick overview of this? You talked about support for rendered Kubernetes rendered manifests.
Yep. Hi there. First of all, thanks for a great product. I'm following you guys for half a year now, and you did an amazing progress in this half a year. And yeah, it's amazing and exciting. And yeah, I brought up KCL. So basically, right now in the world of generating manifests, there are basically three approaches: raw manifests, customize, or Helm. And all of them are not great enough, really. And I see slowly KCL is picking up in terms of adoption for this as well. So it's just a different way of generating. It's actually more generic. It does any JSON or YAML, but the beauty of it is it has native support of Kubernetes objects and validation and stuff like that, and it really makes simple writing complicated deployment manifests much easier. Now, Argo CD, it's possible to integrate it with Argo CD using just custom plugin, and basically it will work as well. So you can make it work with Cargo as well, because in the end of the day, you can generate and commit all necessary manifests for then Argo to take care of. I think, I haven't tried, but I think this will be an option. However, yeah, one of the nice things right now I see with Cargo that, yeah, there is also a way to generate manifest all the way to the end and commit them to the repo. Currently done with either Helm template or customize. And yeah, basically, I'm curious about extending render functionality to support something else, in this case, KCL, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we will take a look at this. Again, we don't have enough time to dedicate to this, but this will definitely be on the next meeting, the agenda. We'll spend some time talking about this. I think this is a very good topic. So cool.
I also
I'll add
joined
this
your
to the... Yep.
Discord, so I can provide
Yep.
any additional context there if needed.
Awesome. Awesome. No, that's great. Cool. All right. Thank you for that that context and for that that quick overview. Cool. All right. All right. Cool. So so it looks like yeah, we messed up a little bit, which is fine. We can always oh yeah. Ooh. Fika, do you know anything about OCI support? Do we have that? That can be like another we don't have to go into
So I would say the focus
big
for now
details
would be
here.
to get it into Argo CD first, but of course, like when we get into Argo CD, the plan would of course be to put OCI into Cargo as well. But that's to do for posts 3.0 in Argo CD.
Oh, okay, cool. No, that sounds good. Yeah. All right. So follow. Do we have that? Do you have that issue handy? I could probably look it up. GitHub. Issues. Is it an issue, or I guess we'll see. Actually, I should just do the pull request. That's probably easier. And then author would be Blake.
So short is that this has been pushed for post 3.0 because that's been pledged to be just a small release without any major new features.
Cool. Oh, Natish has it. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Natish. Can you put that in the document?
For sure.
Yeah. So for posterity. Cool. Cool. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So me and Angelica have to jump on something else. So we'll cut this here now. Again, thank you everyone for joining the first official cargo meeting. Remember to subscribe to the calendar so you get so you won't miss any other ones. We're having it once a month again on Wednesdays. It's the information's on Discord as well. So if you haven't joined the Discord, please go to Akuity.community. That'll jump you right into the Discord. And all this information will be there. So cool. Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you everyone. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you everyone for joining.